The modern world runs on a strict schedule of perpetual motion. We expect success is reserved for those who never stop moving. We have normalized a specific hustle mentality, the belief that every burden, every plan, and every storm must be carried entirely alone to prove our worth. This creates an intense internal pressure. You end up holding on to a massive weight of hidden anxiety and silent, accumulated scars, fearing that slowing down is synonymous with failure. To maintain this pace, we are taught to actively suppress our own emotions. We treat natural feelings of exhaustion or overwhelm as obstacles to overcome, rather than biological signals to listen to. In material science, this is a stress-strain curve. It illustrates what happens to a highly rigid material under a steadily increasing load. It holds its shape and absorbs the pressure right up until a specific threshold, and then it catastrophically snaps. Psychology follows a similar law of physics. What we call sudden burnout is the predictable result of this unseen tension. When we suppress our limits, we force our minds to mimic this brittle material, absorbing pressure without releasing it until the structural capacity of our focus is reached. This reveals a hard truth about our approach to work. Slowing our pace, the thing we fear most, is actually the biological mechanism required to survive. True endurance requires dismantling the idea that relentless motion is the only form of strength. It means choosing a tool we have been conditioned to avoid, the deliberate pause. When we look at internal psychological mechanics, the definition of structural strength changes. We must distinguish between two concepts that are often unfairly grouped together: resting and quitting. Loosening tired hands and setting a heavy burden on the ground is an active, courageous choice. It is a necessary step for long-term survival. This structural load model compares two pillars taking the exact same force. The rigid pillar on the left cracks under the impact. The flexible pillar on the right compresses to safely absorb and disperse that pressure. Engineers recognize this as the resilience paradox. Yielding and softness are structural requirements for enduring heavy loads. This principle applies to our own resilience. Periodic resting provides sustained elasticity. It acts as a mental shock absorber, allowing the mind to compress, recover, and return to its original shape. Rest is the basic structural requirement for running the race. To understand this process, we have to look at what happens in the mind the moment you stop moving. The daily hustle generates an enormous amount of mental noise. A deliberate pause gives this suppressed static the room it needs to organize and settle. Emotions provide telemetry, essential navigational signals that offer data on our internal state. When we stop, these chaotic frequencies smooth out into readable pulses. These pulses function as an internal compass. Reading them allows you to trace a feeling of frustration or exhaustion back to its root cause, showing you exactly what requires adjustment. We often assume we have to wait until a project is finished to begin repairing ourselves. However, healing and growth happen simultaneously within these quiet moments of decoding. Listening to these emotional signals provides the clarity needed to adjust your direction. It allows you to move forward effectively, rather than repeating the exact same patterns that led to exhaustion. Moving from the theory of resilience to the physical reality of a chaotic schedule requires a specific architecture. This starts with a shift in perspective. Needing space is a baseline human requirement, not a sign of a flawed character. In this blueprint of a daily schedule, the empty time blocks are the load-bearing elements. By building pauses into your day, these voids actually hold the rest of your structure together. You can build this architecture using 3 practices. First is the drop the burden breath. This involves taking 1 moment every day to breathe slowly and consciously release the solo responsibility of a specific project or worry. Second is the signal check. When you feel a negative emotion, pause and ask what that signal is communicating about your needs, rather than pushing it aside. Third is the permission protocol. At the end of every night, acknowledge that merely getting through the day was enough. You are granting yourself the grace of an imperfect ending. These micro-pauses maintain your mental elasticity. They allow you to bleed off internal pressure before it reaches the breaking point. This practice ensures you face tomorrow with a calmer heart, moving forward with intent rather than reacting to accumulated stress. Giving yourself permission to rest and reset is an act of courage. It ensures you are sustainably becoming.